So why are so many people not successful in music or in general with many things they do? And the simple answer to it is time. You will need to invest a lot of time and resources in order to get from A to B. And there's one guy who put this into numbers. It's Malcolm Gladwell. He said you need 10,000 hours to achieve mastery. And what this actually means is that you have to do a lot of practice and repetitions over and over again until you reach this goal. And yes, there have been voices which kind of like debunked this 10,000 hours. It's also not true in every field, but I would strongly agree that there is a correlation between how much time you put in and what you get out. So there's definitely kind of like a function, input to output, and this function kind of like alters a bit with certain parameters which we will look later on. So how efficient actually the input to the output gets. But first, look at a simple numbers game. So if we put in 3 hours, because I believe 3 hours should be possible for almost everyone out there. Besides you're the single mom with 5 kids and 2 jobs, give up the dream of becoming Astrix or some other really big artist, because I guess you won't have the time to do this, but every average person out there with a normal life should be able to carve out 3 hours of their lives if they want to do that. That's also a very important point. Not everybody wants to get this to this level. And also you don't need to have 10,000 hours. I mean, it's the path to mastery, but maybe with 5,000 hours, you're already quite good to go. But let's assume we want to get those 10,000 hours. Then it's basically 3 hours every day, consistently, 7 days a week. If you do the math, it's 476 weeks or 9 years of consistent work. So a lot of time you need to put in to get to mastery. And how do you actually get this time in? The most important thing is to have a system. So we are determined by our habits. So most of the things we do actually run quite automatically in our lives. So there's actually a book, it's called Atomic Habits, which I've read, and it has a quite simple trick for you. So even if you plan for those 3 hours, then don't do it that you plan for the 3 hours. Just like getting started every day will be already a pretty good starting place for you to set up a consistent habit of making music and get your repetitions together. But first, you really need to take the blame on yourself. It's really important because most people blame external things why they cannot do things. But the first thing I would do is I would look into your phone, look how many hours you spend in the phone, look how many movies you watch at night. And yeah, you can still do that all, but maybe you do a little bit less. If you want to achieve something, then this might be something where you can carve out some time. Also, there's another really good book, which I also will link down in the description. It's called The Miracle Morning. And when I had a quite busy job, I started doing this. It's pretty cool. The concept is quite simple. You do it for like 30 or 60 days or something until it becomes a habit. But you set like alarm clock a few hours early, and then you do your morning routine there, like things like going for a walk or jogging, meditation, and making music. And that could be maybe your first hour of the day where you adjust for you. You don't have phone calls yet because it's too early. And then you do the other 2 hours in the evening or 1 hour. I mean, it doesn't need to be 3 hours. It was just an example of how you can achieve this in under 10 years with a normal life if you're quite consistent. I mean, you can also take like half of the hours and get less far, or you can take double the time. There's many kind of like options how you can design that. But just saying, like, if you're on the path to mastery, and actually I think you should, because it's a very interesting path, then this is one kind of like consolation how you could do this. If you got any value out of this video, then please hit the thumbs up button. So I guess the most important thing to consistency is then motivation. So once you know that you want to do something consistent, and once you have found the time where you could do it, then your biggest obstacle actually becomes you. So all the kind of like little excuses we do in our lives to not do things, and then we procrastinate and all that. Why does this actually happen? It's usually because because we don't have the motivation to do things. So we don't prioritize. So everybody of us has like 24 hours in a day, and we need to prioritize what's important for us. Prioritize means to set a prio. It comes from prior. It comes from like one. Actually, there's only one priority. There's not like three priorities. That's actually kind of like a false wording of that word. So that's actually also a good book I can recommend. It's called The One Thing. So it's about focus and really doing one thing really properly. For me, what drives motivation is always if you future pace yourself, if you see where you can be in like 10 years from now. And it's important to have the time horizon. I know it's quite far, but you cannot reach something really important if you give yourself 3 months for it. I mean, you don't finish any job preparation or studies in 3 months. So why don't you give yourself a little bit more time to succeed with music? And you will have a lot of wins along the way, which you can be proud of yourself. So for example, I just released a track if you want to check it out. It's called the MDMA Astronaut, and I think it's quite decent. And if I look back a few years from now, I started like 4 years ago with Psytrance, then the tracks weren't really good at that point. But I took like a lot of time. 4 years is quite a time, and I went quite all in. I do a lot of music, so I guess I'm not in the 10 years range, maybe more in the 7-8 years range to achieve mastery. But that's pretty cool if you can then look back and see the results. But winning doesn't only mean to get good releases or to chart somewhere in the top 10 or anything else. It can also mean to really check off your consistency. So maybe you have a log, a winning log, in which you put all the hours in you have spent, and then you see how consistent you went, and then you look back after a few years and you can really see how stable it developed. And then that's already a win, you know? It's not only external achievement, it's the internal things which should be set up right. Also, you need to enjoy the process, you know? For me, for example, I love making music. I love teaching people. So nobody can actually beat me at being me, because for me, time becomes effortless. It's not that I say, okay, yeah, I need to make another YouTube video. Okay, maybe I do that sometimes, or I need to make another cool lead. It's usually more like that. My girlfriend needs to drag me away from the computer because I'm so much on it. You know, for example, right now it's lunchtime and I said to her, I will make another video, and the same goes for music. So really find what you love. Maybe it's not music, but if it's music, then really acknowledge it for that and really find the thing in music which motivates you the most. I mean, maybe you're struggling with some things like sound design, then just don't do it. I mean, you can still do music with presets and samples and everything. So just find the sweet spot for you, which makes it kind of like effortless to move on. If you aren't subscribed to this channel and you don't want to miss any future videos, then you should hit the subscribe button and the bell icon. Then you will get notified on new videos, and there will be a lot more workflow tips coming soon. And also, especially in the beginning, for beginners, you need to move through the hardship. Everything is hard until it becomes easy. That's actually one thing I wrote here on a paper on my wall. And usually the beginning always sucks. And the reason for that is because you will compare yourself to the established artists out there who have 10 or 20 years of experience already and who went through all the failures and who did all that crappy releases. And now you're making music and you compare yourself and you're wondering why it's not sounding like that. That can be really tough. I promise you, once you get over a certain threshold, and for me, actually it happened this year, that your music is on par when you put it into DJ sets and other stuff. And that was, at least for me, the marker where I say, okay, now my music is good enough. If I put it in a DJ set and people cannot distinguish it from professional tracks from others, then that's for me good enough. Of course, I won't stop here. I'm really into that mastery thing. But that can be a first little goal you might achieve, like even after 1,000 or 2,000 hours of making music. And I want to help you actually with that. So I set up a special course for beginners, and I want to help 5 people in achieving this. So I will really teach you everything I know, which is important for a good release. I will take you by my hand and really help you to go through this and make an amazing track, which will release by the end of this course. And then you have a blueprint for all your future success successes, and you actually have overcome that ugly first part in which everything is so bad and you struggle and nobody wants to listen to it. And if you're interested in that, then I will put a link up here and in the description box below. But there's actually one more thing. It's if you have input and output, it becomes kind of like a function between those two. So you may not need even those 10,000 hours because you're more efficient on the way. And that's actually what happened to me. So I digged into a lot of masterclasses and resources and groups, Discord groups, and also I had many coaches, and that actually really propelled me forward. That's something when I talked in the beginning about this kind of like efficiency in between. So the more you can shortcut this a little bit and get external help from people who already went through that experience and tell you what to do, and then you need to follow it, of course, that can actually help to really break down this time and make it like less long. And also it will help you a lot to go through that initial hardship, because if somebody really can motivate you also and tell you it's just like a phase, then this is something really valuable. At least it was for me. And to sum it up, once you have the motivation and you know how to get through all that hardship, maybe you have a mentor, you have set your goals, you know what really motivates you, you found what you love in music, so the right genre or maybe also the right techniques to create music. Don't do what everybody does. Do what really fits to you, what's your personality. And then once you have all this motivation and all this system set up, then you just need to be consistent and you will inevitably get better. Just imagine, like, maybe you have heard of this get 1% better each time thing. And it's really true, because you don't need to get like better in jumps, in big jumps. If you get steady, slow and steady, you will also make the win. And then just becomes like a function of time until you reach mastery, or whatever you want to reach. If you want to have additional workflow tips, I have a full playlist with workflow tips up here, which you can watch next.